What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're gonna figure out whose transmission has more neutrals, whether it's Sean's 4L60E in this Ranger or the manual transmission in my Ranger is only supposed to have, well, they're both only supposed to have one, but between the two of them there's a lot, so stay tuned. 10 times entries a week at MotionAutoTv.com. Head over there, get yourself entered for a chance to win this 2022 Kia Telluride plus $20,000 cash. Don't be late, click the link, we'll see you there. Welcome back to the $2,500 Ford Ranger Challenge. I think this is like part 6. In the last video, you should have seen Sean firing up this 5.3 liter in his Ranger. And the video before that, we actually got the 5 liter in this thing running. So, we did not install the clutch. Over here we have a clutch. This is out of it's like a 1995 Ford F250, and it's a 6-pad disc. It's basically got it off of Rock Auto. It's like 130 bucks. I got an OEM flywheel for the same thing from O'Reilly's, just so I didn't have to pay shipping. It was the same price. Basically, just wanted to stick it in and see if it ran just by plugging it in, see if we needed to do anything else, and it did. Ready, Blake? Make sure everything lined up. So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and pull the engine and transmission back out because we need to install the clutch. I would also like to pressure wash the engine bay, pressure wash the engine. We're initially going to do head gaskets and all that stuff, but kind of running out of budget. We're gonna get it out sitting on the ground. We're gonna see if it runs. Blake is over there yanking the starter bolts out. Check out this. I bought this 1987 Honda Elite 150. It's liquid cooled, does about 55 miles an hour. Couldn't let Blake be the only one around here with a freaking wild hog, right, Blake? So Blake yanking the starter out of this thing. We're gonna pull that out. I don't know if we showed this in the last video. We did install the 488, basically just cut the ears off of the top of it and stuck it back here. Drilled the little holes to kind of fit, and so we got a 488 bolted in right now. We have the brake lines all hooked up. So we have a LSD. Now we just need to weld on the shock mounts, but yep, working towards it, Blake. We're getting her done. Hopefully by the end of this video, this thing's turboed, running and driving, doing burnouts maybe. We'll see. Okay, guys, so we got our engine all pressure washed. Looking a lot better. Doesn't look like such a junkyard, oily relic. You can see how low this thing actually sits in the back now. Think of that thing.
Not too bad.
It's like it was nice, So getting the engine bay all pressure washed, ready to go. You guys are over here messing with this thing. Sean, buddy, come here. Hey, what do you think of your drive shaft? How much did it cost?
Oh, we already told them.
So that costs as much as my engine.
That's okay.
So your drive shaft costs as much as my engine and tranny. My drive shaft bolts right in.
That's fine.
So we're good to go.
You can have $5 grand, we can have 2,500 bucks, and I'm still not concerned.
All right.
Remember that. Remember that.
So Blake went ahead and got the clutch all installed. That thing is ready to go. Got the engine all pressure washed. She's looking great. I figured out this whole clutch line situation right here. So that thing is going to plug in and work just fine with our internal slave on the transmission, which is right here. That leads us to another issue. I was getting ready to put the engine in. Went ahead and pulled the exhaust manifold off because there's this like EGR port right here. Need to get that all welded up. And then there's this port that just goes up here on the intake manifold. So we're getting rid of all that stuff. But there was one thing that was kind of concerning, which was that there was a bunch of exhaust, like black stuff around here, and there was a missing bolt. Well, I guess it's not missing, but there is a busted off bolt in the cylinder head, and these are cast iron heads with a pretty much a freaking iron bolt or whatever in it, steel bolt. So I've been drilling on it, been breaking a couple of drill bits. I think we're down to two or three that I broke so far. Tried an easy out, broke this off on the inside of it. So this is just one of those like things where, you know, if we would have got an engine that didn't have this, we would have had this engine pretty much back in the truck and like running by now. But instead I've spent an hour messing with this thing and then sat on the internet and was watching some videos and seeing if I could figure out like a good solution. So the easy outs, the bad thing with them is when they actually spread the bolt and make it tighter almost to try to get it in there, We don't have any reverse thread drill bits, so what I'm gonna do is get a nut and stick the nut, a big nut, right there on the outside and just try to weld the inside of it on there, and then just hit it with the impact and see if it'll come out. The other thing we need to do is figure out a turbo drain. I don't know what we're doing. We got a lot of stuff to do. Sean, how are you doing?
We're actually doing great.
How good?
Great. Runs, drive shafts in, rear end's done. We got the lateral arms, the what are they, lateral
Yep.
arms, all that stuff. We're literally moments away from dropping this cab back down.
Other than your steering shaft.
That is the last big feat we got to deal with is
steering
the
shaft.
The steering shaft when the cab is on is like, you know, going right about there. So
Right here.
yeah, we're gonna be making some adjustments to this, just minor
Yep.
ones. But other than that, we're doing great.
All right.
Yeah, we're ready for the
Anything.
race. Yeah, we're at anything.
Ready for anything.
Yep, look at that drive shaft.
And the race is tomorrow.
Did
And this is where we're at.
yeah, we got shafted about that. Well, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, you
Tomorrow
got shafted on your shaft?
I'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
I'll be ready
5
to
p.m.
go. Sure.
at the
I'll
track.
drive this there.
Yeah. Guys, so day 2 of my bolt situation. So in the last video, Sean said that I was losing sleep at night, and it's not over the fact that his truck runs and has it's over this bolt. We're doing great. Blake was helping me out, grinding it a little bit. It just won't come out. What do you think? What should we do?
This is what happens.
Yeah, that how many of those did you break off?
2.
Try the broken in because now it's sharper again. Because at the end of the drill bit, try that in.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would be great. Maybe we need to go buy like a $50 drill bit that'll do this. But
Or just go to the junkyard and get a $25 head. Or just don't put that stud in it. And just really put some nice RTV around the...
something.
Yeah, some RTV, huh?
Blake made the executive decision, right, Blake? He said, just weld that stud on there. So what we did is we took this little belt file sander right here, kind of dug a little gouge into the cylinder head, filed this to a point, stuck that point in the hole, and held this with some vice grips, and that's what we did. Welded it in there, kind of grinded it off around it, enlarged this hole right here. Now we're gonna use a little bit of this copper RTV right there on that edge, and now we have a stud to bolt it to. We're just gonna stick these things in, right, Blake? We're gonna be good to go. So, I don't know, it works. Not proud, but it works. Is officially attached. We cut and welded this thing for the EGR, and then I just cut off the whole valve and just welded some stuff on there, so we have a block off for that on the intake manifold. So that should be looking good. The only other issue is right here. I'm gonna take you guys up under here. Right here. So we have, this is the cross member, obviously. So it's wanting to kind of hit right here. We do need to scoot the engine forward about a half an inch or so our drive shaft clears, and we don't have to buy a new one or have ours shortened. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut a little notch in this thing so that way the oil pan could slide a little bit further forward. So I'm gonna get all suited up and start cutting. And so I just cut out this little cross member right here. Should give us enough room to slide the oil pan forward a little bit and not have to replace the drive shaft and be like those guys over there. Because I really don't want to get the shaft like you guys got. I don't want to get that shaft. So I hogged these holes out just a little bit more, and Blake's throwing some spark plugs in it. We're gonna be good to go. We're gonna be up and running here in like maybe 2 hours. We'll be backing this thing out of the shop. You think?
Maybe.
Taking it for a rip. Guys, pumping the engine up. It's going in for the last time, I hope, right? So we got some EGR stuff blocked off. We got some stuff figured out over here, and we have the intake manifold sitting on it. Dave absolutely ruined our cherry picker. He cut a hole in it, so this thing doesn't spin anymore. And every time you lift an engine now, it just wants to turn sideways. But Sean, I think, has to go let his dogs out. So Sean's gonna take the moped Hey, you gotta buckle that strap.
Okay.
But he's gonna ride this thing over to his house, let his dogs out real quick, and then he'll be right back. He's over here working.
I'm doing great. Wait till you guys see my steering apparatus I got going on.
Yeah, you are doing good.
I don't even want to.
I really like this whole setup. You're gonna look great on it. All right. See you later, buddy.
Yeah, I'll be back.
All right, guys, so it took some finagling, it took some messing around with this thing. Blake, you say too much.
I know.
What do you think about this whole thing? Let's get your opinion.
It's alright. I wouldn't do it though.
You wouldn't do it?
I just like motorcycles more, so.
Blake's a big motorcycle. Well, motorcycles are simpler. You park them in your garage, and if it breaks, you typically...
And you can buy like a $20,000 bike that will beat anything, basically.
You could pretty much buy like a $4,000 bike, and it'll beat a lot of cars, you know, like an old like 1000 or something. But anyhow, we got a new power steering line right here. New line right there going to the rack. The high pressure and the low pressure is going up to the thing. We have the mounts. They're actually sitting on there. I ended up having to do a little bit more cutting. Good thing the Sawzall just fit right in here. So you can see, cut a little bit of that stuff right there. But engine is officially in. We still need to throw the bolts up on the top. We need to throw the exhaust manifold stuff on. Get that kind of down here. We got the clutch clipped in, which that's a small step for us, but a huge step for, Blake, it came unclipped. It just shot out. That was weird. Yeah, look at that. It comes out now. That's not good. That's not good. But, so, OEM cross member, OEM bolts only missing one. Bolted right here on the bottom. OEM drive shaft, literally. Bolted right up, ready to go. So initially, we had some issues where it was a little bit further back, but that's why I ended up cutting this thing, and the engine sitting about an inch further forward now, because this pan was basically just riding on that thing. So now the engine is 100% riding on the mount. It's not sitting on the pan at all. Starter's in, it's all bolted up, pretty much ready to go. Shifter's in the right hole. And Sean, how do you think we're doing over here? How we doing?
You guys are doing a little bit better than you were, but you're still not doing as good as this one over here.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But hey, we got a 488.
Yeah, but how's it doing? Though?
Mounted right here.
Well,
we just need
hanging out.
We just need some shocks. My shocks.
Take these off. You got to weld the shock brackets. Are you guys gonna do the lateral arm?
Yeah.
Thing?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Yeah, we're doing great.
How's your return doing on your fuel system?
Well, it's right there. Okay. I just have to maybe pull the bed off and stick it in the right spot, and then we should be good.
What else?
That's about it.
How's this one doing?
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. Anyway, so today we cleaned up our shop and everything. We cleaned up the whole area last night, so now we have a clean space to work with. So today we are going to be wiring this thing up as it's going to be in the truck, waiting on a few things to come to my house this afternoon from Amazon. But once that gets here, we're going to start cleaning up the wiring, get everything wired up in the cab so it'll start and run as it should with the push button, have all the accessories on switches and whatnot. Today what we're doing is we're trying to find or make or adapt a power steering line that will work. So obviously we have the Ford Ranger rack and we have the 5.3 power steering pump. So here is the fittings. This is the fitting that goes in the factory power steering rack for the Ranger. This is the fitting that goes into the pump. Obviously you can see they're different size thread pitches, they're different fitting styles. I have a few adapters and stuff I found around the shop. Nothing that I can make work, and on top of that, this line is way too big, because if you look down here at where the line is going to need to be, so here's the inlet or the output on the rack, and then here's the power steering pump. So basically we need a sweet little, 180-degree line with the correct fitting. So we are going to go downtown. They make all kinds of different hydraulic lines and stuff like that, so we're going to see if they have the fittings in stock to get this done. Also yesterday, so we were hard at work on the power steering, or excuse me, on the steering rack issue. We didn't even time lapse anything. We didn't talk about it. It's done now, so we're gonna show you guys that.
It was a lot of trial and error.
A lot of trial and error. I'm not too pumped with it. It came out, it works. It's gonna work great, but it's not the prettiest. So anyways, as you guys maybe, I think we might have showed you guys before, the problem was the rack was going right into this first primary on the header and was just directly right into it. So we, you know, basically we would have had to do some crazy fabrication to this header, and we just quite frankly don't have the time or don't have the material here at the shop, or we can't get it in a timely manner to do so. So we left the header as it was and we moved the actual rack itself.
Yeah, we tried to find the same size stainless tubing and stuff, and it's not anywhere within like 2.5 hours drive. So
here's a Sean custom steering mount, I guess. So basically took some 1x square tubing and just made.
And it's a decently thick wall.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's thick.
It might look thinner from here.
Oh, that was my phone. But this thing ain't going anywhere. It's not the prettiest. But what we did by doing this was we achieved the space between the manifold and the steering rack that we needed. So we basically, as you can tell, the steering rack from the factory sat up about right here. It used these mounts and these mounts. How to eliminate that, so we put the steering rack down lower so it cleared the primary on the manifold. So now, as you can see,
and the wheel is pretty much in the same spot.
Yeah, the wheel's pretty much in the same spot.
There's actually a U-joint inside of here, so we were still able to like kind of change the angle of where the rack or the shaft is, but
not hitting the manifold at all. We had to compromise the firewall just a bit, but race truck, so who cares? But yeah, so now we're doing great. So now we're gonna go have a power steering line made, and then by the end of today, and definitely by the end of this video, this thing will have a switch panel in here. It will be running and hopefully driving. I would like to take this thing for a drive today if we can do it, but it's gonna be close. So if not, tomorrow for sure.
Hey, Sean, how do you think the shop is actually doing
It's kind of a mess
right now? It's only been a couple days since look at my Ranger. Having some issues with my Ranger. You guys will probably
Tell them what you did. Do they know you did?
yeah, I think so. How are these O2 sensors doing?
They're doing
those
great.
look like those don't fit in the budget very well.
No, they do.
oh, they were rock auto though.
Rock Auto.
So in our budget, we accounted for things that we have for sale. They're not sold yet, but we added those to the
catalytic
budget.
converters.
Yeah.
So give me a little update. Obviously, this thing's in here.
It runs great. I got it all wired up. So we'll start back here. So since we moved the battery from the stock location, NHRA drag race, or their rules or whatever, bylaws, whatever you want to call them. Yep. They require you to have a battery disconnect if you move the battery from the stock location, which obviously we did.
This looks expensive. That looks like that would have just hurt your budget doing this.
I had the wiring laying around.
Oh,
Put a system in my truck, so I already got the value out of it that I spent on it by putting it in my truck. So the rest of it was free.
Okay.
So it's all wired up. So there's our battery disconnect, and you go.
Well, these are like $12 from O'Reilly's. That's like $10 from O'Reilly's. This thing. That's like that's pretty expensive wire right there, actually.
Actually, when I bought that, they gave us money back because we returned stuff we didn't use.
Oh.
All right, that's what we got here. So we got our essentially, it's a standalone ECU now, right here. I got a little bracket made for it to hold it in place, not going anywhere, doing great. Fuse box. So basically, we have the injectors on one fuse, all the injectors, then the coils. There's 2 power wires, a power wire to each bank. So these are your coils and your transmission and O2 sensors. And we have, this is power to the PCM. So this is basically your main power. Fuel pump right here. And then this is gonna be lights and then probably fan. We're waiting on 2 more relays to come into the mail tomorrow. But it's wired up, starts and runs from inside the
Let's hear it. I'll give you some power right here. Give you some power right
Give
there.
you some power?
Yeah.
All right. ECU, fuel pump. Oh, jump box. Battery's dead because we don't have an alternator hooked up.
Ooh.
Where's the jump box?
What is what's all that fluid right there?
Oh, so that's brake fluid, actually.
Well, you guys were trying to take this thing for a drive.
Yeah, Friday night. So Friday night it was essentially ready to be driven. Needed to bleed the brakes, obviously.
But Friday night was technically 3 days after we were supposed to be racing these things for the first time, which was supposed to be Wednesday at Bandamere. And Sean needed a bunch of stuff. I needed to do a bunch of stuff. I'm having some issues with my transmission and my Ranger. And so yeah, fire this thing up. So that's ignition.
Oh,
Yep.
give me the power. Apologize.
So you guys have a throttle cable. You got vacuum lines hooked up.
Yeah, we have the O2 sensors. We just need to get some flanges so we can make some pipes. We're probably going to come right out the side of the fender right here. That's kind of the plan.
And then it dies with the switch.
Yeah, like it's supposed to.
So this thing's almost ready for a first drive, other than that brake line in the
we're gonna
back,
do right now.
which I think you guys are going to steal my brake line on account of my transmission and me having some issues over here. So they're going to steal my brake line, get this thing driving. So we should be able to at least go for a ride in it, but I guess you don't have a passenger seat.
Yeah,
So
the dumpster took it on accident.
yeah. So, well, that's a little bit of an update on Sean's Ranger. I guess we'll see if this thing will drive here in a little bit. All right, so some bad news for my Ranger. I don't know if we have the footage of this thing like driving on the lift, but started, got the transmission in it, the drive shaft in it, the clutch, bled, all that stuff. And we were getting ready, we're like, okay, this thing's ready to drive. So I was like, okay, let's put it in gear on the lift, put it in first gear, goes in just fine, let out the clutch, nothing. Put it in second, pulls in just fine, let out the clutch, nothing. Third gear, same thing. Just it's like it's in neutral, but it feels like it's in gear. Like you shift it and it's like, feels nice. Then fourth gear just felt completely trashed. Like you had to like yank it down into fourth gear, and then as you were doing that, you could hear it like grinding gears almost, and then fourth gear worked. So now, was messing with it a little bit, and then it's basically stuck in fourth gear now. It won't come out of fourth gear, and I don't know what to do about it other than just pull the transmission out, because there's not really much you could get to from the top. So I went ahead and I did pull off the little shifter mechanism, and if you look right here, I don't know if you'll be able to see actually down there, but down there in that hole, it's see how there's that one tab in the center that's further forward than the others? That's what it's in fourth gear right now. So yeah, not sure what to do. So I went ahead and I pulled the drive shaft, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull the transmission out of this thing right now, and pull off this little top case and just kind of see what's really going on with it, because I don't know what to do. It's just not working. The clutch wasn't really bleeding that well, so I hope it's not a big issue. If not, we might be putting that T5 transmission in here, but then we have to convert it like a cable, like a clutch cable thing. So I'll update you guys as we go along. All right, guys, so some unfortunate news about my transmission. So, pulled it out, pulled off this little top shifter housing case thing. So actually the shift forks and everything are up front. And pulled it out, started looking at it. I was like, oh man, this thing looks great. Until you get up to right here. So you can see like that whole front thing is like melted. I don't know if this is like some sort of band or I don't know. I don't even know what goes right there. But when you rotate it over, you can see a bunch of kind of grime in the fluid. And I said it in the junkyard video. I was like, that's kind of weird. This thing has a brand new clutch, a brand new slave cylinder, and the truck wasn't damaged, it wasn't wrecked or anything like that. I was like, I wonder if it's the transmission and that's why it's in here. Sure enough, it's probably exactly why it was in there. Maybe the tranny's bad and then they just got done fixing it, and then they're like, oh, the tranny still sucks, so let's send it back to the junkyard. And then we're just pulling it out. So this right here is the transmission off of the 4-cylinder. You can see it's supposed to be a gear right there. And then moving over to this transmission off of the V8, the V6, there's no gear there anymore. So I did call around, or I didn't call around. So today is Monday, technically Labor Day. So all the junkyards are closed, but there's 3 of them in town that should have that transmission and then 2 out of town. So I think we might get lucky. We'll up the budget a little bit. I was gonna do the T5 tranny, but looking at this bearing and this whole front case of everything, I would much rather just throw another one of these in there and just have it bolt up and work kind of how it should. So yeah, that's probably what I'm doing. So I'm gonna put this thing back together, get this thing ready to take it back to you pull and pay, and get some of my money back, I guess, because that sucks. It sucks. So Sean's over here working on exhaust. He actually pulled it outside. We're gonna go for a ride. Should we go for a ride?
Let's go ahead.
How's my shifter doing?
Great.
How much should I charge you for that?
I don't know, I'll trade you the battery.
Hey, you know, if you would have left the little back seat in here, that would have been great. I could have just went for a little ride with you. So,
ready?
I guess. Are you gonna put that shifter up there? I would. It's fine. I don't like it right there.
I don't like how this thing's running right now. But
Probably needs like an O2 sensor.
No O2 sensors. There's no IAT right now.
Mass airflow sensor.
Well, we're not running a map. Speed didn't start.
I know, but like, it would help.
Just drive. Just roasting the tires.
It's a little loud.
Just a little bit. How's my turn signals doing?
Yeah. I guess you don't need turn signals where we're going.
Oh, it's doing great. Oh yeah, I need a couple bolts for the seat. There's only 2 bolts. I lost the other one. We need the O2 sensors and they're really bad.
Yeah.
It's only might be only running on 7 cylinders soon. So. Ranger, buddy.
The first one of its kind.
Not really.
How much to hold on to back here?
Yeah.
How's your brake lights doing too?
My brake lights?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not hooked up yet. They're right here.
Yeah, dude. It sounds, I just heard something fall off it. I don't know what it was, but that was a little baby burnout if I've ever seen one. I wonder what just fell off. Hey, Sean.
Was that a good one?
I don't know what, did you hear something fall off?
Yeah, it was a little piece of metal that was probably in the bed.
I think it was. Well, hey, congrats on the first drive.
Yeah.
That's, you beat me. You beat me to it.
Yeah.
But I tell you, if my tranny wasn't being completely ruined, we would have been driving this thing like 2 or 3 days ago. All right, so I'm still trying to wrap around the fact that Sean has a 4L60E
with all the gears.
With all the gears.
Yeah, and you have
and now I have a manual. I don't even know what this thing is. It's like a 5ROAD or something like that.
With no gears.
No gears.
None.
Well, it actually had fourth for
barely.
a little bit, and then it was just stuck in fourth.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. My transmission's messed up. It has a bunch of neutrals, or it had neutrals when it was shifting, and then it went just into fourth. Now yours...
Mine shifts great.
At least yours doesn't have neutrals. I thought you were going to have a P.
Well, it actually does have a neutral, the one it's supposed to. But other than that...
It only has
the one neutral.
The one neutral.
Yeah.
So... As you guys seen, Sean's truck runs and drives, and my truck needs a transmission and a ton more work. I thought that everything was going to go good with this, and it was just going to like plug and play and run and drive, and that's not the case. I also took a little bit of, not really a break, because I just had to do some stuff with the website to get the Kia Telluride giveaway all launched and everything ready to go. So if you guys have not got entered for that, we are doing 10 times entries for this week. So limited time only for the 10 times entries. So you guys better get entered on the freaking Telluride.
Absolutely.
And if the Telluride isn't your thing, 50 grand cash. I'm going to try to pick up a transmission for this thing tomorrow. And then we should be able to do the first drive of the 5.0, which should have been like a week or so ago. But also a little update on the timeline. We were supposed to race on Wednesday, and then we were going to do the road course on Friday. My thing wasn't done. Your thing
could have been, but
it would have been.
It would have been a shit show.
Yeah. Like the whole thing would have. It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have worked. So it's not like we're trying to make like an exact event or something with it. I mean, we might here in the future, but overall, drag race and the burnout coming soon. Yeah. Probably Friday night. This Friday night, we should be able to go to the drags. Hopefully, if I get my whole situation all figured out. But Sean is getting really close.
Yeah, we ran and drove today. We drove it around, so now it's just a matter of we need a cooling fan. We need to obviously finish the exhaust so we can get the O2 sensors in there, hook up an IAT so we can kind of tune it a little bit better. It was kind of just running super rich with open headers. Obviously, there's no O2 sensors or anything, so it wasn't just kind of freaking out. Didn't know what to do, but it does run and drive. The transmission seems to hold up to the power pretty well. It did a burnout no problem, so I'm excited. I'm super excited, actually.
Yeah, I mean, yours is honestly turned out. It came together really good, especially with all the wiring. And that random thing, it worked out good that was squared and you put the switch pan right there.
Yeah.
But I think exhaust for this thing is coming soon, and then maybe we'll race them on the street or something this week. If I can get a transmission in this thing tomorrow, it should drive. So, if I get a transmission, it'll literally slap up in there, put some fluid in it, and I'll go drive it.
A few things to do, and you're good to go.
All right, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys like the Ranger videos, give it a thumbs up. Go check out MotionAutoTv.com for the Ranger or Telluride giveaway. We'll see you guys in the next one.